I will wait for others also to join, but
Yes, sir. I'm messaging everyone.
it is showing two logins for you.
I don't know. Huh.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Okay. So, Saurabh, welcome to the class after a long time.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah. We are currently on stakeholder management.
Yes, sir.
This pop-up is blocking the PowerPoint tray. Okay, it's gone now. Okay, we saw project stakeholder management is a process required to identify the people, groups, organizations that could impact or be impacted by the project and to analyze stakeholder expectations in project decisions and execution. And so the keyword is people, groups, or organizations. So it is not just an individual. That is important. Uh, and the other thing is could impact or be impacted. So the stakeholders can impact the project. or the project can impact the stakeholders, and both can happen simultaneously. And to analyze the stakeholder expectations, and also to manage stakeholders. Okay, so these are the processes. Identify stakeholders. So we did this exercise on identifying stakeholders.
Yes,
Then
sir.
other processes are plan stakeholder engagement, manage stakeholder engagement, monitor stakeholder engagement. So there's a typo, it's twice. Just ignore that duplication of the word engagement. So we will, okay, so the term we have already seen. And the impact can be both positive and negative.
So should I read?
No, I'm skipping this. So
Okay, huh.
apart from the ITTO, the trends, if it is, not very specific, I'll skip that. So these are quite generics, not too much of a value. Yeah. So the tailoring consideration, unless something is specific, we'll skip it. And again, considerations for adaptive environment. So adaptive environment is the environment where we are following the agile project management methodology, agile or scrum. We are skipping this. Though it will be, you'll find some questions in the quizzes there, and the intention of putting it in the quizzes, uh, that you at least go through the slide. We may not have it in the examination, but for the reference purpose, it should be read.
Okay.
Okay, though we did an exercise on identification, but we did not read this definition, so we can read this. Yeah, go ahead, please.
So, identify stakeholders is the process of identifying project stakeholders regularly and analyzing and documenting relevant information regarding their interest, involvement, interdependencies, influence, and potential impact on project success. Key benefit: it enables the project team to identify the appropriate focus for engagement of each stakeholder or project or group of stakeholders.
Okay, so basically, not only identify, but we are also, uh, checking what is the involvement in the project. We'll take a little deep dive and understand their role, their interests, and their potential influence. And so, the keywords out here is, besides identification, is interest, involvement, interdependency, influence. So, um, and impact. So it's a matter of chance that all the words are starting with I. You can remember it as a 5I or I5, whatever. Uh, see if you can remember some of these keywords. Not necessary to remember all, but see whatever you can remember: interest, involvement, impact, influence. They're kind of related words. And sometimes what happens, the pitfalls in identifying stakeholders is, for example, you're working for a client and the client has got multiple managers. And there's one manager with whom you deal directly, and there's another manager who's not directly involved. And you may ignore that manager. But what might happen is that this manager who is not directly involved might start influencing things from the background, and you may not be aware of it. So it is sometimes necessary to see what is the potential impact of each and every person, and to be on the safe side, uh, keep managing those stakeholders as well. Or sometimes a transfer might happen. Manager A is in charge of CRM project, and after 6 months, he is replaced. He moves out. He resigns, and manager B becomes in charge of the CRM project. And you have never kept managers B in loop. So, but if the manager B had been kept in loop, he would be happy to work with you. So, it is important to expand the range of your stakeholders, whosoever, not only the current stakeholder, but a stakeholder who can be a future stakeholder, he or she should also be engaged with. Or, for example, the organization is throwing a party, then don't only not only invite your counterparts from the client, but involve the other managers, or invite the other managers as well. There is the only important output is a stakeholder register, the first one, where my cursor is. Sorry. The rest of them, I don't think they're too generic. You know, so, and as an exercise, I'll give you a stakeholder register to prepare, and I'm, I think because quite a few students, they are still on the internship, so not many people have formed the teams. So we did exercise yesterday on identifying stakeholders. We'll do few more. I have okay. So okay, and just keep this point in mind that even if I don't put up a post regarding the meeting link, it is the same meeting link, and I'll tell you why it is the same. And uh, I'll post this link in the chat window as well. If you want, you can open it from here. And one more is there. Yeah, you can open these two. And yeah, and I've put both of them here as well. And I'll put it here as well. Create material, add line. One more link I'm going to add. And I've added to the classroom as well. Okay, so can you, we'll come to this. And so we'll start with this one. How to deal with chaotic stakeholders high in pecking order. Pecking order, I think, is like a nuisance order. I mean that is one interpretation. Okay, so yeah, you can read your question first, and then we'll uh, allocate 2 minutes
Okay, sir.
for reading. Yeah. So can you go through this? Read the question for the class. Yeah. Start with how to deal with chaotic stakeholders. I think so. Mrinalini, you can do the reading.
Okay, I was reading. Okay.
Yeah.
So, how to deal with chaotic stakeholders who is high in pecking order? Consider you run a project where a key stakeholder is one of VPs. She is she is a typical hit and run type of person. She comes to project a team with half baked idea, either refuses to discuss details because they are confidential, or just throws some anecdote as a business story and expects everyone would start working on a project, whatever that might be. To make things worse, from time to time she bypasses project leaders and just tell people that they have to do what sorry and just tell people what they have to do, no matter how disconnected it is with any project plan which was prepared. Because of hierarchy, she can't be ignored as the project team works under her. Also, standard methods, example, trying to set some formal rules, don't work as she just ignores any arrangements she doesn't like. How to deal with that kind of person? How to bring some order to project, or maybe she is best option just to accept how the things look like.
Okay. So VP is a vice president. Vice president is senior management. Though it may not be very senior because the number of vice presidents can be large, but definitely it's a senior position. And hit and run is the term borrowed from road accidents where people don't care about casualty. If there's an accident, they hit somebody in the road and then don't wait. So it's like she doesn't care what happens to the career of the people or the status of the project. She will create a nuisance and just walk away from it. And then this person is doesn't view her positively. He's saying he or she's saying that it's a he. Yeah, I can see it from the picture. Uh, the VP is coming with a half-baked idea and doesn't discuss the detail and then pushes a requirement onto the project team. Okay, so we will. How many of us are there? We are three. Yeah,
Yes,
three.
sir.
So let's try and identify 3 points on the discussions. And so,
Okay.
Saurabh, I guess you are. Oh, you got dropped. Why did he drop? Network issue or what?
Ka-
Are
Arey,
you afraid? Oh,
may,
Monica.
maybe they'll join back, sir.
Okay, so I hope
I'll
they.
start matlab, reading the answer and I'll come back here. So, sir, in one of the answers, they have someone has suggested that ignore her terms of project completely, but maintain personal relationships with her. Like on the project, you can ignore her, but be very polite and friendly in terms of personal relationship. And at the same time, uh, he is suggesting that be strict and explicit with your project members, and even they have to understand like who is giving orders, and later on even they'll start ignoring her. This was one of the suggestion. I'll do another.
Yeah, so though that is one, but this answer doesn't go into sufficient details
Hmm.
because he has mentioned one thing in the question or the Kislet that you know the hierarchy chain falls under this VP, so it's not so easy to ignore
Hmm. Okay. I'll
because
see some better answers, sir.
the third paragraph in the question says Because of hierarchy, she can't be ignored as the project team works under her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's not in charge of the project, but the chain is under her. Okay, anybody joined back? Yeah, Monica is back. What about Saurabh? Anyone has his number? I can call him on a Telegram, maybe.
Sir, I'll WhatsApp you his number.
No. Come again, please.
I'll WhatsApp you his number, his contact number.
I'll call him from the Telegram.
Okay, okay.
I can call from here. Saurabh, where is he? He is here, and I call him.
He has joined, sir.
Oh, okay. Good, good, good. Okay. Saurabh, welcome back to the class. We are missing you.
Yeah, sorry, sir. It is due to network issue.
Okay.
I left.
Yeah. So we are here. We read out the question. You can open this link on your device if possible. How to deal with the chaotic stakeholder who is high in packing order. And so there are multiple answers. How many answers are there? So 7 answers. So will identify a few points, and each of us will mention that. So we just started doing it. So we'll since you just joined back, you can take 2 minutes and then uh, you know or contribute few points from this discussion. But we are not going to read it. We are going to read, understand, digest, and then reproduce in our own language.
So there's a suggestion
Yes.
where, yeah, the person is saying that you should confront that lady, and you should tell her how her behavior is impacting on the team and their performance. And even if it doesn't help, every time she brings up something new, you have to tell her that we should keep it at backlog, or we should keep it backlog and do the thing which is in the continuation, and all the team members should back each other up so that she doesn't target any individual. And maybe after some time, if this keeps on happening, when you all work as a team, maybe she'll get the point and she won't target someone.
Yeah, it can be done, but then that probably is the most straightforward approach,
Hmm.
uh, um, rather than going about in a roundabout fashion. Though, but it will require tremendous communication skills. It is not going to be everybody's cup of tea,
Mhm.
because the person might get upset and then try to get back.
Yeah.
So it requires, the kind of skills which maybe with only 10% of the people.
But even she cannot fire the entire team, right? If everyone is standing together, maybe she'll understand.
See, that is not a practical suggestion that everyone should gang up or everyone should write a single letter to the management that this is what is happening. In real life, this will not happen.
Okay.
Yeah, normally, because see what is happening is she's dealing with the project manager, so it is the problem belongs to the project manager. So it's not, it's not a labor union.
In another suggestion, they had one person said that even he has worked under such lady, and the project manager pretty much surrendered. Like he let her have the direct access to the developers. So he, as the PM couldn't handle her activities.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, when these kind of things happen, it is the HR that comes has to come into play. So it depends uh, how strong is the HR function in the given organization, whether they can stop the firing after root cause analysis. So the VP can say that this person is either incompetent or is not adhering to the mandate of the management, and as a result, and is doing insubordination. Now it is the job of the HR to validate that. So in some cases, HR is not going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the employee, filing can result into lawsuit as well. So, so it's not, but not everyone will go into the hassle of a lawsuit. A lot of people will find another job and then quit and then take the easy way out because it's a lot of mental hassle going for a lawsuit.
So in another suggestion, they have mentioned that after maybe hiring a senior engineer who could coordinate between the team and the VP.
Mhm. Okay, so see, go directly there. Okay, yeah. So the answer could be something on these lines. So when uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, illogical demands are made on the project, one thing would be to call for a meeting without declaring this as an agenda, and where people at similar level are similar level means level similar to the VP are also part of the meeting, and then bring up that issue, and then let people at that level take a call so that the fight is between equals.
Yes, that is a very good thing.
So that is
Practically possible.
one more a safe way out. And the first answer is also a little safe in that sense that you let your immediate upline, your immediate manager, know that this is what the VP is asking, and let him decide what to do. Let him take a call. So that is another way. So that it will also not be a uh, uh, outside interference. Your immediate manager
Mm-hmm.
will understand what to do best, and if required, your immediate manager can uh, take the issue to the C level. In the answer it says the first answer that's a typical problem for C level. Why it is C level is because the senior management is got a designation starting with the C, CTO, CEO, CIO, and all that. Okay, so this is you know about dealing with the powerful stakeholders, and there is another. No, not this one. Yeah, so this is another question that we should discuss. How do you manage conflicting stakeholder demands? So, Saurabh, you want to read this? Uh, yeah, you're still there. Saurabh, you want to read this? Just the question. Saurabh, you're there?
So,
Okay.
so I'll start.
Yes, sir, I will start, sir.
Yeah, Monica, you can do that.
Okay, okay.
How do you manage conflicting stakeholder demands? Occasionally, key stakeholders of a given project will have conflicting requirements or demands of the project manager. How can a project manager deconflict these requests when the stakeholders can or will not come to an agreement? I have to wonder, why do stakeholders not have to pay directly for the requirements they ask for? This is how people make decisions in real marketplace, which is the office of is not having them pay directly does not solve it. What would you do if sincere manager pays you to make X and senior manager B does the same to make Y, but X and Y cannot physically coexist, or they both pay to do it in a month, but there just are not enough resources to fulfill both requests.
Okay, so this is when the project has to deliver two requirements, but both the requirements cannot coexist uh, for technical reasons. One hypothetically, one stakeholder says produce a manual car, and the other stakeholder says produce an automatic car. So this is a very straightforward explanation of the question. Sometimes it may not be straightforward. It may be a little complex to understand why there is a conflict. But let's take it on face value that the requirements are conflicting. So what do you do in such case? So how many answers are there? Six answers. So let's give it 2 minutes and then we can go through them.
So, sir, here one suggestion is there that probably they should conduct a meeting. Everyone, all the peers should
Which
put
answer
out,
is that?
sir, the first answer
First one.
with eight
Okay.
likes. Yeah.
Okay.
So what they can do is they can conduct a meeting where everyone will put out their thoughts. Obviously, there'll be like fights and conflicts, but let them have their fights, let them have conflicts, let them answer their own questions. And see, as long as they are peers, none of them can make a call for anybody else to do. So it can happen that for whatever reason they won't give up easy and will oppose against having a meeting. Then the PM's goal is same, except they have to run between the office and another, passing bits of information between one another, trying to help them sort the list of goals and requests. See, they have to prioritize what the main agenda of this meeting will be. They have to prioritize. They'll have to make a list of what is to be done. There'll be conflicts, but they'll have to solve it.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good line of action. Thanks, Afisha. Votes cast by those with less than 15 reputation are recorded but do not change the complexity. So I was trying to afford this answer, but then I have to earn some reputation value out here. And I think the way to earn this reputation is I think I have to contribute by way of questions and answers. Okay, I think I'll start doing that. Okay, what else is there? So, meeting is a important tool to resolve this conflict. Get the conflicting parties into the same room and then sort it out.
So in one suggestion they have said that uh, there has to be prioritization done objectively and score each goal. Like each stakeholder has their own goal, and we can just what do we say? We can compare the value, cost, risk for organization, all of that. This method needs to have strong rules of engagement, and all stakeholders will agree. Like if when they take a vote, or when they'll put it in this way where they'll have to score each and every goal, comparing its value, cost, and risk for the organization, maybe the stakeholders will get to a point where they'll understand this goal is more beneficial and might come to a conclusion.
Okay, yeah, that is seems logical. Though I have not come across this being done in real life anywhere. I mean, in my experience, but the world is
Yeah.
pretty large, and world is small as well as large. So somewhere this must be happening. Assign a numerical priority order to each and every requirement, and then see which one has got the higher priority.
But obviously, everyone will want their goal to obviously achieve, right?
Yeah,
So
so
they
uh,
might not.
there'll be a discussion in the room, and then
Mhm.
people are free to jury over it. If two people are conflicting, then the rest of the people in the room, they are going to tell them which one is a higher priority. Okay. So this process so this is like a generic process. Every knowledge area will have a plan process. So plan risk management, plan cost management, plan stakeholder engagement. Engagement is same as management. Plan stakeholder management, and this is yeah. You can read this.
Okay, so planned stakeholder engagement is the process of developing approaches to involve project stakeholders based on their needs, expectations, interest, and potential impact on the project. So it provides an actionable plan to interact effectively with stakeholders.
Okay. So basically, the objective is to come out with a action plan. A strategy to do the stakeholder engagement, but very rarely is it going to be, except for very mega projects. I don't think this is uh, something which is a documented output, though uh, it does say that this stakeholder engagement plan stakeholder engagement plan goes as an input to the project management plan, but very rarely this has any meaningful content in real life. Okay. And now this is the execution part, doing the stakeholder engagement execution. Yeah, you can read this.
Managed stakeholder engagement is the process of communicating and working with stakeholders to meet their needs and expectations, address issues, and foster appropriate stakeholder involvement. It allows project manager to increase support and minimize resistance from stakeholders.
Okay, so this is where the discussion that we just did comes into play. So we just saw examples of how the stakeholder engagement was actually done. Done means it was being one of several lines of action was being discussed. So, in one example, we saw when there was a conflict, is to get them into a room and get a priority order done. And other is when there is a uh, interfering VP, then to have a meeting at a VP level and let all the VPs mutually decide what to be done, or to get the next management level intimated and let them take a call what to do with the requirement. the VP.
Sir, there was also one more where they said like if even if it after all of this discussion, if they don't come to a conclusion, they can bring in the sponsor to help manage their expectations. The sponsor can say like what their expectations are, so that at least stakeholders will understand and come to a point.
Yes, yeah, well, that's fair. And so now this process, just say that this is a process of communicating and working with stakeholders. But how exactly you do it, that can be learned only by going through the discussions, the case slides. The slide is not going to tell you exactly how you can do it. And then these inputs are very generic. The last item, organizational process assets. This is required for every process. Enterprise environmental factors. It was required for every process. And change log, issue log, lessons learned. Uh, these will be there for almost every process. So it is more important, in order to append your, if you just look at the concept and the uh, definition, you'll produce this in the exam, but the thing is, if you have to apply it, you need the uh, actual case legs. Okay, monitor stakeholders. So every knowledge area will have this. The way every knowledge area has got a plan process. Plan stakeholder engagement or a risk plan, risk management. Similarly, there will be a monitor process. But exactly how do you monitor? Let me see if there is any case. But let's read this first. So you can go ahead and read it.
Yes, sir. Monitor stakeholder engagement is the process of monitoring project stakeholder relationship and tailoring strategies for engaging stakeholders through modification of engagement strategies and plan. Key benefit. It maintains or increases the efficiency and effectiveness of stakeholder engagement activities as the project evolves and its environment changes.
Okay, so here what is happening is this is happening during the execution phase itself. The engagement is happening during the execution phase, and the monitoring is also happening during that phase. So here, what it means is that somebody has to keep a track that the stakeholders are being engaged. The monitoring is being done. They are engaged, and the relationships are being maintained. And let me see if I can find something out here. Stakeholder. Monitoring. No, I don't think we will find anything with this. Monitoring is a word which is uh, PMBOK specific for, how can I fill in the blanks? Okay, there's no answer out here, though the question is there. And here,
Yes, sir. Can I read, sir?
no, I am first I have to verify that this keyslet is valid. The other
Okay.
one which I saw this was valid, but then there is no answer here. No, no, there are answers. Sorry, there were two answers. Okay, let's go ahead with this one. It's a little theoretical question, but still, let's go ahead with this. Yeah, you can read this, Monica.
Okay, sir. Managing stakeholder expectations in executing and monitoring and controlling phase. When following project management book of knowledge guidelines,
Yeah,
guide,
you can you can read this as PIMBOK.
okay, sir. Pingbook
Yeah.
guideline to manage stakeholder expectations. How does a project manager manage stakeholder expectations in monitoring and controlling phase? What kind of techniques are used, or how do they manage them? It would be really good if you can provide me a link to further readings, etc. Further, I do not clearly understand the distinction between things that are done in monitoring phase and things that are done in executing phase. It seems like monitoring phase is supplementing what's done in executing phase. Could please give me precise distinction between what is happening in two phases?
Okay, so here there's a confusion between the control and the execution
Yes,
phase.
sir.
So execution, we have seen examples. We saw, engage stakeholders, and now here we are seeing the stakeholder engagement. So
Uh,
what exactly does it meant by monitoring? So here are the answers. So we can take a look.
okay.
Okay, so let me briefly explain what is the uh, answers are attempting. So what they're saying is that the work will happen both in the execution, the engagement work happens in the execution as well as in the control phase. Uh, but obviously, if we have to go by the framework of the PIMBOK, we have to map it to some thing, some actions which are happening in real life. So the definition is okay, but how do you map it to something on the ground? So what are the things that are possible in a control stakeholder engagement, control and monitor? So one is it can somebody can be
Yes,
looking.
first we are going to start project, sir. We have to input these perspectives, sir. Stakeholder register, stakeholder management strategy, management plan. These these characters we have to input before starting to the project, sir.
Yes, that is correct. But I'm coming, but I'm focusing more on this particular discussion and the slide. The slide here is saying monitor stakeholder engagement. How do, monitor is like somebody's supervising your stakeholder engagement. Somebody's looking whether the project manager has done this engagement or not. That is the meaning of that word or
Okay.
intent of that sentence. So, what that how can it be done? It can be done by taking a look at the change log. So, thing is, a stakeholder might change, or new stakeholders might be introduced. Then there is an issue log. There might be issues raised by the stakeholders. So whether that is getting tracked in the issue log, and then there is uh, stakeholder register, whether the project manager is updating the stakeholder register or not. So this is few ways of monitoring, and then the other ways is uh, which is not mentioned in the PIMBOK because these are the points which are taken from the PIMBOK, point number 1 to 6. Whether meetings are happening with the stakeholders or not. So somebody can take a look at the minutes of the meeting, which will be there somewhere in the repository, and they will check whether a meeting has scheduled with all the stakeholders and whether they're happening regularly. And then somebody can directly talk to the stakeholders to find out if project is if they are satisfied with the project progress. So these are the ways that can be on the ground that can be used for monitoring and controlling the uh, uh, stakeholder engagement. So typically, it would happen that while a project manager is working on a project, his manager or a senior management, they may directly contact the customer or the client and ask them uh, what is happening. Is everything okay or not okay? So that is one way of monitoring. And then they may ask the project manager, so what happened in the meeting today? Uh, can you start copying me on the minutes of the meeting? Things like that. Okay. So the next process is, okay. So we are done with this, monitor stakeholder engagement. So, again, sometimes, so here it doesn't talk about minutes of the meeting, though that should have been there. So, little quite generic out here. So, since we have, you know, completed this topic of stakeholder management, we will uh, take a break before we start the next unit. Okay, and so I have. Uh, I hope all of you are there in some team. So Trupti, are you there in some team? Trupti. Trupti, yeah, please go ahead. Trupti, you had unmuted. I thought you were going to let me know if you are on a team. Can't hear you. Oh, you muted yourself. So, Trupti and Saurabh, I hope you are there on some team so that you can start working on the assignments. And I'm going to give you a stakeholder register to work as part of the mock project. Fine. So we'll close 3 minutes early, so you can, relax before the next class. Do you have a class after this?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So on a given day, if I want to keep it on 3 to 4, if I have a clash in this hour, I can keep it.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you, sir. Bye bye.
bye.
Okay, thank you, sir. Bye, sir.